Well, hello everybody. Welcome to episode 8, I think it is, of T3Live. Uh, Pretty original name there, right? I don't know. Somebody mentioned it and it just kind of stuck. So, how are you all doing today? Unfortunately, because I have not learned yet how to be able to view the chat during the live stream. If anything pops up, you have a question about, put it in the chat, and then when I finish with the live stream, I will answer questions in the chat. Yeah. Hopefully soon here, I will find a way to uh, I will find a way to do both. Be able to see, be able to see the comments and all that stuff. But how are you all doing today? It's a love here in the Pacific Northwest. It is a lovely, rainy fall day. Those of you who live around here, must have noticed the crazy shift in seasons. I mean, literally, it went from being 80 degrees one day to 45 and rainy, and it's been 45 and rainy ever since. Today, if you take a look at my knees here, a little dirty. So today, I have been working on constructing a fire pit for Jim and Aaron, who are the property owners, who are so nice enough to let me dwell in their basement like a little troll. I Originally my plan was to do this, outside, like I did my first few, and actually around the fire pit. And I was going to, I asked them if they would pop on for 5 or 10 minutes and introduce themselves because they're really quite amazing folks. Not only that, but they saved my ass in a lot of ways, you know. Um, when it came up, I needed a place to live. It was a huge stressor at the time because as a, 45-year-old, well, no, I guess I got 4 days left until I'm 45. Or maybe it's 44. I don't know. I stopped counting at 20. Um, and, it was literally divine intervention that I met Aaron, who is one of the owners of this property. And I've told this story to a few of you, and I'll tell it again. But I had forgotten to throw away some trash after a class. I left it on the roof rack of my truck. I got home. I was like, oh shit, I left the trash. So I went back, dumped the trash, and as I'm unloading it, this woman comes walking across the street from the cabin that had been for sale for a while. And she introduces herself, and we start talking. And, I mention who I am and what I do. And, of course, she'd read a few of my dad's books. And just as I'm getting ready to pull away, she says, oh, hey, real quick, do you happen to know anybody who's looking to rent a mother-in-law suite? So we have one in our basement, and we were going to Airbnb it, but we don't really want to, deal with all that. We'd rather have somebody here full time. And I was like, let me think if I know anybody. Yes, me. And I can help you turn your already beautiful piece of land into an even more beautiful piece of land. This property is unique in a lot of ways in the fact that It was logged at one point back in ye old Oregon Trail days. But otherwise, since then it hasn't. And, there are trees back there in the woods that are hundreds and hundreds of years old. And it's just, such a magical place that I have this, 13-acre patch of woods that, they've given me permission to host classes on, including overnight classes, host other instructors that have specialized skill sets. Um, RN is also uh, does some work around helping people become their ideal selves. So our work syncs up in a lot of ways. So I'm super thankful uh, to them because yeah, the pickings are slim for country living these days because once the pandemic hit, everybody wanted to get out of the city, and properties in the city went down in cost. Properties in the country went up in cost. So yeah, I helped them. Um, and one of the ways I was helping them was just building a fire pit, which I'm going to be using for several videos. I'm going to be skill-based videos I'm going to be creating. One we're filming next week, which I'm super excited about, and it's going to be really awesome. And I cannot wait to upload that to my YouTube channel. One thing I ask, and I'm going to say this several times throughout the broadcast because I hear other YouTubers who I watch do this, but please, smash that like button, subscribe, share it with your friends. Every time I hit a 100th subscriber, be it to my YouTube channel, my Instagram, or on my website's newsletter, I at random choose a name, and that person gets a free print of their choice of one of my photos. So there is incentive there to do that. Speaking of gifting, recently I found myself in a tight spot, financially. Um, and I reached out to the community, and to those of you that, donated everything from funds to words to thoughts to ideas, I have so much love, thanks, and gratitude to you for helping me out. Because, as I transition into future nature and T3 photography, um, it didn't work out quite the way I was hoping. One of the first lessons I teach my students is get rid of expectations. Expectations are killers. And, I was expecting to have it not be as much of a struggle. On that note, I want to take a moment to say that, as of tomorrow at 10 a.m. Will be my official last day working at Trackers Earth here in, the Portland area. Trackers Earth was founded by my friends Tony and Molly and a few other folks. I think 15 at least years ago. And by far and away, there is no other organization out there that gets so many kids in the woods learning actual wilderness skills, learning how to be caretakers, learning how to respect nature, It's probably the biggest school of its kind in the world. And I still to this day am astonished at how many kids come through the programs. So I just wanted to take a minute to uh, you know share my uttermost thanks and love to those guys. Tony and Molly especially. They've been we've been friends for a lot of years. They were actually when I left working with my dad at Tracker School, and I formed the Primitive Arts Collective, which was my first school. They were actually my first clients, and they booked me to come out here and teach 2 weekends of specialty adult classes. I forget what the subjects were. I think one was a primitive hunting class, and the other was stalking and movement or something like that. Um, so yeah, known them a long time, and Tony especially has throughout the years has been a business mentor of mine. Um, it's pretty well known fact that in the outdoor school, slash survival school, whatever the hell you want to call it, world, that the people that operate these organizations are great at teaching, know their stuff, typically. It's not always the case. But they lack the business knowledge. And Tony is one of those, rare folks that possesses both. Hence, how he and, with the help of other folks, have, um, managed to build an organization that gets tens of thousands of kids into the woods every year. Not only just here in the Portland area, but also up in Seattle, out in Denver, and down in the Bay Area. I think one day, Tony and I added it up, and I forget if it was just for the summer or just for a week, but basically collectively, we get kids in the woods for a total of about 150 years per summer. I think it was. I think that's what it was. It was just the summer we blocked off to try to guesstimate, and that's huge. You know, as an adult, somebody who primarily teaches adults, uh, teaching adults is a lot different than teaching kids. You know, if an adult is going to take and spend their hard-earned money to learn a new skill to enrich their lives, to be more self-reliant, they're in it to win it, right? But a lot of times with kids, they might rather be doing something else. Uh, this is something I say to my friends that teach kids, 3, 4, 5 days a week. I don't know how you do it, but, bless your damn heart, because I would end up in a padded room, um, bashing my head against the wall if I had to do that. But yeah, Tony, Molly, the rest of the Trackers Earth crew, I'm close by and I'm here for all of you if you ever need me. If you ever have questions about anything, all you got to do is send me an email, call me, or just come knock on my door. I don't live too far away. But I love you guys, and I'm sad to go, but Intervision strongly directed me to, start Future Nature and T3 photography, even though it's putting me into a hugely scary potential financial pitfall. Um, we all know that when intervision calls, you better listen, because the pain of not listening to that voice can be more painful than the thing that's making you apprehensive about making the choice. And that's kind of my, as far as the topic of this week's episode. I kind of toyed around with it a little bit, but I wanted to talk about a few different things. Obviously, I'll tell you about some upcoming classes and programs and things like that. But I wanted to talk more about, this concept of taking people, I've been calling it turning takers into caretakers. Uh, in such a short period of time, our species, Homo sapiens, we have uh, destroyed our home. Not fully destroyed it, but we have caused an immense amount of damage in a very short period of time. We went from being um, we went from being hunter-gatherers, where instead of selling our time to somebody for an imaginary currency. Sorry, I'm still not sure. Yeah, me neither. Sorry. Leave me alone. Hold on. Sorry about that, y'all. Um, when we were hunter-gatherers, our job was to uh, provide things for our life. We'd wake up in the morning. If we were hunter-gatherers, we'd all gather around and we'd say, all right, today we need, it's getting close to winter, so we should probably go, stock up on a few things, try to get some meat that we can preserve to get us through the winter. The shelter needs reinforcing, so you guys work on the shelter. We'll go hunting. We'll go. You guys go fishing, and then at the end of the day, you would come back together and share, everything you had gathered. Division of labor and division of resources. And at some point along the way, um, the big evil, the A word, came around, agriculture, which allowed us to go from being roving bands following animal migrations or following the seasons. It allowed us to settle in one place. It allowed us to produce our own food and store it, which allowed our population to grow. Flash forward, a few tens of thousands of years, and here I am talking to you on a crazy electronical device. You could be in, anywhere in the world watching this, and that just blows my mind. Like the how we can come up with these just amazing inventions and tools. We're tool makers. Um, the thing that's sad about it is, in order to create a lot of these tools that we all use, right? Any tool you make is going to require some sort of raw material to build it out of. Whether I'm making a throwing stick, or making an ishi stick for flint knapping. I got to go out onto the landscape. I have to find the right. I got to find an antler. I got to find a stick that's just the right size, bring it back to my camp, and then put my time and effort into crafting this beautiful, one of a kind piece of functional art. And in such a short period of time, we've gone from that to just consuming endless amounts of cheap disposable goods, whether it's clothing, whether it's electronics. It's staggering. And of course, as the population grows, people need more stuff. So we need more materials. So we keep taking and taking and taking and taking. And very few people give thought to what all that taking is doing to our earth, and the future generations of all beings. Back to the whole kids programs and teaching kids and things like that. What really terrifies me is that, these kids that are so immersed in technology, they, you know, even though I grew up in a kind of a unique manner, uh, but people of my age, you went outside to play. You went and played in the woods, you ran around with your friends, you were outside. And anytime you're outside, you have the opportunity to see some really cool stuff. Doesn't matter if you're in the middle of the city or, the most pristine wilderness. One of the coolest nature experiences I ever had was I was in Washington, D.C., and I was driving with Bill Kazer, my good buddy and founder of Ancestral Knowledge. I will be sure to put his website and make a note to put his website uh, um, in the show notes. But Bill and I were driving in downtown Washington, D.C., and it was snowing. And it was just a little tiny bit of snow, not much. And we're at a T intersection. And across the street from us are some houses and some fences. And we're waiting at the red light. And all of a sudden, I catch this flicker of movement in my wide angle vision, and I turn and I look. And I'm like, Bill, check it out. And this beautiful, big, just fluffy red fox comes around the side of this house, and it jumps up on top of a chain link fence that was probably about 4 foot tall and sits there for a second, looks left, looks right, hops down onto the sidewalk, and then runs around the next house. So, moral of that story is you don't have to be in the most pristine wilderness area to experience awesome natural uh, happenings. There are so many animals out there that have adapted to live in around and amongst us. That's why I tell people, and this is more on the photography side of things. I can go into a city, and one thing I love about Portland as a city is that so many people have so many beautiful yards with so many different beautiful plants. And on the occasions when I do go to the city, I love just walking around with my camera and photographing some of these, some of the plant people. And then if you're quiet and you pay attention, you realize that there's birds flittering amongst these plants, and there's mice, and there's voles, and there's this whole You know, not to steal a line from the Book of Dust series, which is the prequel to the Golden Compass series, but there's this whole secret commonwealth uh, of nature going on around us, no matter where we are. Uh, Whether or not you choose to look for it and see it is your choice and your choice alone. And remember, what's the number one lesson in awareness? Choice. Making the choice to be aware. Um, so, yeah, don't think that you have to be in the middle of nowhere. Well, hold on, I just want to make sure that I'm coming through loud and clear to everybody here. Okay. Um, if one of my friends is watching this, shoot me a text real quick and let me know if everything's working okay. Anyway, another thing I wanted to talk to you today about is a couple different things. I often title these episodes, and then the episode ends up having nothing to do with the title. Um, and that's just the way I roll. But I wanted to talk about, I want to start with social media. You know, I have uh, had my go rounds lately with the social media companies. First, when my Facebook account got hacked, which cut off access to my business and commerce suite, making it impossible for me to post ads about my classes or my photographs. Um, Social media, Facebook, all those things. These tools, and they are tools. Were created with good intentions. You know, I was listening to an interview with Mark Zuckerberg the other day, and he created Facebook as an easier way to search through whatever college he went to, search for fellow students, which turned into a multi-billion-dollar company that seemingly has nobody working for it because I've sent so many emails to them trying to resolve the issues around the hack and getting access to my business and commerce suite back and all of that junk. Um, uh, Ever since social media really became the forefront of so many different people's lives, there has been, sorry, person, there has been this, rash of everything from uh, uh, all sorts of things. Suicides, depression has gone up, anxiety has gone up, and obviously the state of the world doesn't help any of that. But social media gives us 24-hour access to what is happening around the globe. Social media has its good uses. It's helped people stay in communication with friends and family across the globe, whether there's a natural disaster going on or a war. But the negative part of social media is this. When a person posts something to Instagram, or Facebook, they are posting something that's been curated, you know, um, and they then other people, scrolling through, they just see these pictures of, this beautiful person, and why don't I look that good? And oh, look, this person's in, Fiji, and why can't I ever get to go to Fiji? And everybody's life is so much better than mine, and my life sucks. False. Your life does not suck. That person whose photo you're looking at or post you're reading, you know, they go through the same things you do. See, the thing about social media is it allows us to only show the best parts of our lives. And that's part of the reason why I chose to start this, T3Live thing, is because I wanted to give you all, a regular glimpse into my life. In fact, I think for my next episode, for those of you who grew up in the '90s, if you remember the show MTV Cribs, I'm going to do a T3 Live, T3 Cribs version, and give you a tour of my very small domicile, which I have come to love very much. I will clean first so it looks nice. But yeah, they're only seeing the best parts of people's lives. They're not seeing the struggles they're going through. And that leads them to then believe that, their life is horrible and this other person's life is great, which can lead to all sorts of negative thinking. And we get in these, and I've suffered from this recently as well, and not just around social media, but it puts us in these negative thought loops that slowly take hold of our psyche and transform us from what was once most likely a really happy, healthy person to somebody who suffers from depression or anxiety, and asks, how come I can't have those same things that person has? How come I can't go to those same places that that those people go? um, I'm going to tell you something. So I have been involved in the outdoor skills world for my entire 45 years on this planet, and I have been teaching for 22 years now, which is just boggles my mind. In the course of my teaching career, I have educated movie stars. I've educated world famous musicians. I have educated titans of industry, movie stars, TV stars, people that, according to the American dream, have made it. And the sad thing is with the exception of a few, most of them are some of the most miserable people on the planet. And it just, it boggles my mind. Here's a person who literally could have anything they want at their fingertips at a moment's notice, and they're not happy. And the reason they're not happy is this. We are taught from an early age that happiness is a high-paying job, a beautiful spouse, a nice fancy car. Um, it's all based around things and possessions and quality of the things that you own. And when people don't get those things, they somehow feel as if they've failed in life. I read an article a while ago, and basically the gist of the article was, uh, you know, does money, can money buy happiness? Absolutely, money can buy happiness, but only to a certain extent. I forget the exact figure, but I think it's somewhere around like $150,000 a year total household income. That's where, anything past that doesn't make you any happier. And to quote one of my favorite musicians, Biggie, mo money, mo problems. One time, many years ago, my second client for Primitive Arts Collective um, was, I'm not going to mention any names, but they were starting a company in New York City that was going to uh, design everything from survival kits to escape routes, um, basically for wealthy New York Cityites, um, to be prepared in case of another 9/11 type disaster or a natural disaster. Um, and, uh, just like seeing one of the most baffling things, and it's still to this day one of the most baffling things I've ever heard in my life, is I'm hanging out with the family and the business owners that were hosting me, and they had a teenage daughter, and the father asked the daughter, aren't you supposed to be staying over at so and so's house tonight? And his daughter was like, yeah, I was supposed to, but she got grounded. And my friend Andrew says, what'd you get grounded for? And his daughter goes, well, her allowance is $12,000 a month, but last month she spent $16,000, so she's grounded for the weekend. And I just sat there for a second. And have you ever jumped into like a freezing cold body of water? You get that like shock feeling. I just thought about those numbers, you know. If I had if I had access to this like a free $12,000 a month, the things I could accomplish with that, it's mind boggling. Um, right along that same fact, and this isn't true with all people who have made it or who are wealthy. I know plenty of well-known people who are truly happy. Uh, who have cultivated that sense of peace, love, joy, and purpose that we all crave within themselves. Um, and, but a lot of them just feel lost because they've wasted their whole lives, breaking themselves, working all day, every day to accumulate things that they never get to use because they're busy working. And then all of a sudden, 20 years goes by, 30 years goes by, 40 years goes by, and then they get to their end of their life and they're surrounded by all of their things, and they realize they don't even know their own family because they were too busy working, or they don't have any hobbies or interests because they were too busy working trying to accumulate things because that's what our society tells us we're supposed to do. So think about that. Think about that. The happiest, healthiest people I know, you know, by world standards, are probably, the poorest. That's why I always laugh at, when we talk about poverty, and in other nations, there are people who, according to our metrics, that live in utter poverty, but they are way happier than we are. They are way healthier than we are. They have a community. They take care of each other. They take care of their surroundings. We shouldn't judge poverty based on how much imagine how much currency you have. It should be based off the content of your character and yourself. Uh, because one thing about money, and as somebody who's been um, spent the last few years studying the world financial system, because it was, I had a vision. Let's see, I don't even know how long ago it was, but I basically had a vision that one day I was going to be able to provide free nature education and nature connection to anybody who wanted it, and I was going to do it through the use of cryptocurrency. For those of you who aren't familiar with cryptocurrency, um, there's this thing called the World Bank, right? And the IMF, International Monetary Fund. And a lot of people mistakenly think that these entities are part of the US government, when in fact they are not. They are their own entities, and they control everything from how much the US dollar is worth to all sorts of different factors. And I started kind of dabbling in cryptocurrency a little bit, mostly because oh, by the way, tomorrow, Halloween is, I think, the 15th birthday of Bitcoin, which is the primary cryptocurrency. So, very many thanks to Satoshi Nakamoto, who is a mysterious unknown person, for creating the first decentralized currency. Now, what does that mean? So, there's all sorts of different cryptocurrencies that are meant to do all sorts of different things. And I'm not going to go into a lecture here. I'm actually going to end soon because I got an errand I got to run. But, think of Bitcoin. I'm just going to use that one. Think of it as digital gold, right? There's only so much gold in the world, right? Um, how much is left in the ground? Who knows? I read an article recently that they just found uh, a gold vein in Africa somewhere that has the equivalent of half the amount of gold that we currently have on Earth. So, Bitcoin, there is, I forget the exact number, but there is and will only ever be a certain amount of it. Um, you know, It's not like our government when they say, oh, things are looking bad, let's fire up the printing presses and make more money. That has nothing behind it. This one needs to be fact checked a little more, but I came across an article that said that 80% of the US currency that is currently in circulation, both digitally and physically, has been printed or made in the last 3 years. Back in the 70s, we had the gold standard, $1. There was $1 of gold somewhere, you know, that equated to that dollar. Um, the thing that is most appealing to me about cryptocurrency is the fact that it is something that is made by the people for the people. It's decentralized, meaning, at any time, the government can go and seize all your assets if they want to, and they don't have to give you a reason why. There was a case a few years ago where a woman who's 70 something years old, her husband passed, and she decided to sell his car. And she went and sold his car for, you know, $8,000 or $9,000, was driving home, got pulled over, and on the front seat is this envelope with, you know, thousands of dollars of cash in it. And the police took that money and never gave it back to her. They seized it because, she didn't have a bill of sale. They gave all these different reasons. Whereas with cryptocurrency, um, if you control your keys, every cryptocurrency account has a key associated with it, and nobody can take that from you, right? So, for instance, this thing right here. So this little device, it's hard to see, but basically all of my cryptocurrency assets are on this device. And it is, obviously password protected and a few other layers, but nobody can hack this. Nobody but me can get into this. And when you have a group of people working on all these different projects, and if you start to research cryptocurrency, you'll see that there is a lot of cryptocurrencies out there that whose goals and aims are, what I consider to be caretaker level. Cryptocurrency makes it easier for people who live and work in this country to send money home to their home country without paying ridiculous fees to send cash. I read a story recently about a woman who tried to send some money home to, I think it was India, and the fee was 15% more than the amount she was trying to send. So yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. Now, it's cryptocurrency's only a decade and a half old. Um, there's good ones out there, there's great ones out there, but there's also a bunch of stupid, scammy, you know, tokens as they're called. Um, we call them ish tokens because they're just, the they don't do anything. But there are cryptocurrencies that are helping do everything from build infrastructure in areas that desperately need it to keep people healthier. So yeah, and so that's all I'm going to say about that. I encourage you to do some research. because if you've been paying attention to world events at all, you realize that things aren't the best, you know, and unless we really start to come together soon as Homo sapiens, no matter what we look like, the color of our skin, who we choose to love, where we're from in the world, we are all Homo sapiens. And it's time to put away the violence. It's time to put away the hate. It's time to put all of that antiquated bullshit aside and come together as one human family. And then focus on not giving the power to the entities that seek to divide us, because those are the ones that are making the real money. All of this, social unrest, everything around elections, all of that stuff, all this stuff is engineered to keep us at each other's throats. So that way we're distracted and they can do all sorts of nefarious things without us even knowing about it. So yeah. So do your research, I tell my students, one of my final lesson of just about every class I teach is try to learn something new every day. Try to find that rabbit hole and go down it and see what's down there. And you'd be amazed at what you could learn. But before I end this broadcast, I'll just really share a story. So let's see, cryptocurrency or Bitcoin tomorrow will be 15, I think it's 15 years old. So about 13 years ago, a friend of mine came to me and he said, "Hey, have you heard of this thing called Bitcoin?" And it was funny because I just read an article about it, and my inner vision should have pinged me, but it didn't. Thanks, inner vision. And I know why it didn't. But my friend says, if you have any extra money, I suggest you buy some of it, because one day it is going to be worth, it's going to be worth a lot of money, and they're kind of like stocks, but not really. So at the time, I think I had about $1,000 in my savings account. And at the time, Bitcoin was 87 cents. So let's multiply. So today, I haven't checked lately, but Bitcoin is right around $20,500 a piece right now. The highest it's ever been is close to 70,000. So let's imagine I had bought that Bitcoin at 80 cents, and today's prices, we'll just do 1,000 times $20,500. I would have that many numbers worth of money. $20,500,000 had I made that one choice. I read a story the other day about a kid who, this past January, New Year's Eve, he bought that Elon Musk coin, Dogecoin, which I'm sure you're hearing all about now since his acquisition of Twitter. He invested $3,000 in it, and now he is worth $5 billion in 1 year. I met a cryptocurrency mentor about 3 months after my first forays into these new realms. And had I started off with him as a teacher from day one, uh, my situation would be much, much different right now. I would be doing this live broadcast from my gold-plated Gulfstream G37 jet. No, just kidding. Even if I had that much money, I wouldn't have a jet. But yeah, anyway. But do some research, learn, always be learning, always be caretaking, you know. Learn to hone your skills of awareness so that anytime you go to a new place, a new space, or you're interacting with other humans, learn to hone your sense of awareness to tell you what you can do to make that place, that space, and those people better than when you arrived. Because, and people often ask, what's the meaning of life? I truly believe the meaning of life, and the reason why we have these giant brains and these suckers right here is to make tools. But I really believe our mission in life is to be caretakers, take care of each other, help to take care of nature, uh, and think about how much better of a world we would live in if everybody lived like that. Did away with the hate, the racism, the sexism, the violence, and we attempted to exist in harmony with the rest of creation. It would be a whole hell of a lot different than what it is right now. Well, folks, until next time, it's been wonderful as usual. And once again, I want to thank you. Those of you that, in my recent, fund drive, as I called it, donated to help me out, to get me through my tough time that I'm currently experiencing. It means the world to me. And I don't have enough words. There aren't even enough words to describe how thankful I am for you, and that you chose to give up either your time to send me a supportive message or the funds to send me a little bit of cash to pay some bills as I try to get the Future Nature T3 photography spaceship up off the ground. And to those of you that did donate, you do and will have a free gift coming. I just need to write out who gave what, and then contact you and figure out what you want as a return gift, whether it's a photo print or a free class, depending on how much you donated. But thank you all so much. My mood has drastically improved over the last week. I've literally been working myself to death. In the past 2 nights, night before last, I slept for 14 hours. Last night, I slept for 12 hours. I haven't done that since high school. And I can feel the old me returning. I can feel the rebirth happening. And once I assume my ultimate form, watch out, world, because I am coming at you, and I'm going to make you a much better place. So, peace and love. Take care of each other. Take care of yourself. Get your ass outside no matter what the weather's doing. And I will see you next week. Help if I could figure out technology.